I am Brad McLeod. I am honored to be moderating the Senate District 8 debate. I'd like to welcome Democrat candidate Dylan Roberts and the Republican candidate Matt Solomon. They're both here on the stage, to my left and to my right. And I'm going to turn the page for you. Thank you both for joining us today. Your willingness to serve Western Colorado is extremely important, and we appreciate the fact that you have volunteered that service. Now, before we begin, we would like to go over a few of those ground rules that we discussed earlier. Candidates should focus on ideas and not personalities. Candidates should be courteous and should be making sure that they make no inflammatory statements. Disrespectful or attacking speech or profane language will not be tolerated. Candidates may not display any prop of any kind. Candidates must strictly adhere to the time limits for each section of the debate, and I, as the moderator, reserve the right to cut off a candidate who exceeds the time limit or to redirect a candidate if the remarks are not pertinent to the elected office. Do you both agree to these rules?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Now, limited applause is allowed, but unruly outbursts or disruptions will not be tolerated or prohibited. And again, the debate moderator, myself, may penalize a candidate and their time if their supporters are unable to maintain decorum. Audience members should also be aware that these debates will be filmed and live streamed for public viewing. With that, we will begin the opening remarks. We had a coin toss that was conducted backstage before we began. Candidate Solomon has chosen to begin the opening remarks. So, candidate, tell him you have 2 minutes for your opening remarks. Please begin.
B-Rad, thank you very much for being our moderator. Many thanks to Club 20 for hosting this and for Colorado Mesa University for allowing the use of their facilities. My name is Matt Solomon, and I am the candidate for Colorado Senate District 8 to represent Northwest Colorado. I have 21 years of public service experience as a paramedic, a deputy coroner. I work with our U.S. military, and I was twice elected to Eagles Town Council. At the same time, I've spent the last 20 plus years in the private sector. I've launched 2 companies internationally and 2 of my own locally in Eagle County. And in the last 4 years, I've consulted for several other companies that were getting their start to get up and running. This balance of public and private sector experience gives me the tools necessary to bridge gaps, to fully represent our district. It's what allows me to be a fact-based, independent thinker. There's 3 main topics we're going to talk about today. The growth of our government. It's 25% bigger than it was 4 years ago. $8 billion added to our budget. My ability to bridge gaps, to collaborate, and to work together. I don't want to enable the across-the-aisle talk, because that shows the divide that's happening and that's tearing our state apart. I want to bridge that gap so that we can work together. I want to do away with the rural-urban divide. And to do away with that divide, we have to have a representative in the Senate that understands the needs of a district that can provide almost every source of revenue that our state has to offer. From agriculture and ranching to tourism, with rafting and skiing, hunting and fishing, mineral rights, water rights, casinos, the list goes on and on. There's a lot to represent, there's a lot to understand, and I look forward to being your senator that does just that. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Solomon. Now, Candidate Roberts, you have 2 minutes for your opening remarks.
All right. Thank you, Brad, and thank you, Club 20. Thank you, Colorado Mesa University, and thank you, everybody, for being here. It's great to be back at the Club 20 debates. My name is Dylan Roberts, and I had the immense privilege of being raised in Senate District 8, and now I live in Senate District 8 where I'm raising my family. Since 2018, I've also had the privilege of representing Eagle County and Routt County in the State House, where I have taken the concerns and challenges of my communities down to the Capitol and turned those into results. Over the last 4 years, I've been a part of some pretty landmark legislation that has improved the lives of people in Western Colorado and in our state. We've lowered health insurance costs on the individual market in Western Colorado by over 35%, and I wrote and passed the bill that made Colorado the first state in the nation to cap the cost of insulin for people with diabetes and lowered prescription drug costs across the board. This past year, I helped lead the largest investment that the state has ever made into affordable housing development, which is going to result in millions of dollars coming here to the Western Slope to help build more affordable housing for our workforce. And I've led the efforts to promote water conservation, to cut taxes and red tape for our small businesses, and to help diversify our rural economies through programs like the Rural Jumpstart Program, which Colorado Mesa and Mesa County has been a big part of. And every single one of those bills I just mentioned were bipartisan, because that is my style of legislating and lawmaking, and I'm proud to be one of the most bipartisan legislators at the state capitol, and I hope to continue doing that for Senate District 8, because this vast district that stretches from Breckenridge to Craig, Vale to Meeker, and everywhere in between deserves somebody who will focus on results on our affordability challenges, to lower the cost of housing, healthcare, and childcare, to protect our communities and our economies from drought and wildfire, and to make Senate District 8 a place where families can continue to thrive, raise their kids, and start their businesses. I bring a problem-solving attitude to the state legislature. I will continue doing that for this big, great Senate District 8. Thank you.
Candidate Roberts, thank you very much. We will now move to the question and answer portion of our debate. Each candidate will be asked to respond to 4 different questions that have been submitted by Club 20 members and our partners. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to each of the questions. The candidate who goes first on each question will also be given the opportunity to offer a 30-second rebuttal to the other candidate's response for their particular question. The candidate that went first in the opening remarks will offer the first response to the first question, that being candidate Solomon. First question: given the competitive nature of your district and the contrasting points of view of the voters, how will you approach making decisions that impact your district?
Thank you, B-Rad. For the record, he told me his kids would appreciate me calling him B-Rad during the debate, so that's the inside of that. This is easy. I asked this of a representative years ago, and she told me she voted for her conscience first and her constituents second, and I was floored. This is one of the easiest jobs in the world because we have a guiding light of a constitution to go by. Second, the constituents of our district, they come second. As long as it's allowed by the Constitution, the constituents are at the top of the list. The people should come before the party. My opinion comes last. Cut and dry. It's fairly easy. Thank you.
Candidate Roberts, I can read the question again, or if you have it. Okay.
Thank you.
You got it.
So this will be a challenge for the next senator for this district, but I believe my track record and experience of already representing a diverse district will allow me to encompass all of the viewpoints of my district when I'm making decisions. I'm proud. Probably the thing I'm most proud of during my time as a state representative is I've held over 60 town hall meetings across my state house district. And I do that because that is the best way to learn from my constituents about what their challenges are, what their opinions are on bills we're debating, and I will continue to do that from Vail to Rangeley and everywhere in between to make sure I'm understanding the concerns of my constituents. And when I bring forth legislation, as I have in the past, I will always look to reach across the aisle, work with Republicans and Democrats to find co-sponsors for that legislation, to consider how it impacts the entire state, because I think that's how the state legislature should be, not a political game, but one that focuses on results. And I will continue to do that by ensuring legislation is bipartisan. And I'm not afraid to buck my party and vote against my party if it's the right thing to do for my district. I've done it in the past. I'm not afraid to do it if it's right for Senate District 8.
Thank you very much. Candidate Solomon, you get 30 seconds of rebuttal if you choose to use that.
Yes, sir. It's interesting, and I'm sure it will come up as this debate goes on, issues that have come about in the last 4 years since Dylan Roberts has been in office, where it is counter to this district, whether it's Senate Bill 181 and how it affected oil and gas, whether it's shutting down our coal-powered facility with a date and not a plan. We have to put the district first. We can put agendas and talk about them, but we have to do more than just say we're reaching across the aisle. We have to work together.
Time. Thank you very much. All right, our second question, Candidate Roberts, you will answer first. Senate District 8 is home to several coal communities and one of the largest natural gas reserves in the world. What do you believe the energy mix should look like over the next 10 to 20 years? How can we keep energy affordable and accessible for Colorado citizens during this time?
Thank you. So I support energy development of all kinds in Senate District 8 and in Colorado, but I also know that there are communities in our district that are already going through a transition for a variety of reasons. And I view this transition, certainly it's a challenge, but it also is an incredible opportunity. I take very seriously my current responsibility of representing the town of Hayden in the State House, and I've worked closely with that community and Excel Energy to pass legislation to ensure that they can modernize their power plant there for renewable energy and keep the jobs there, and even create more jobs in the town of Hayden at that power plant. I've also worked on the Rural Jumpstart program to help incentivize new businesses to come to our communities and help these communities diversify. We can be the leader in Senate District 8 in this transition, create more jobs, diversify our economies if we view this challenge as an opportunity. The state legislature certainly plays a role, but it's going to be working with the private sector and the energy industry to do that. We've done it in the past, and there are a lot of things we can do in the future, and I look forward to being a part of that work on behalf of Senate District 8 in Northwest Colorado.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon, would you like me to read the question again, or?
No, sir. Energy,
prepared?
what would we like to do to help improve it, and what are our
Absolutely.
ideas behind it?
Yes, sir.
Specifically coal and gas.
Specifically energy, the energy mix, and how you should look like for the next 10 to 20 years.
The transition or makeup bill that was just referenced is just that. It's a makeup bill. By shutting down the tri-state facility and its coal operation, that bill had to come about to help those workers transition, but the question remains, what are they going to transition to? We have a date without a plan. Dillon and the majority killed Senator Rankin's bill to introduce the concept of nuclear to our state, which is clean. It would meet all of the environmental demands that we are hoping to save and contribute positively to our environment. I'm all in for bringing good, clean energy to our district. The Department of Energy has recently reflected that we could be up and running with nuclear as a replacement to coal by the time we reach the date that's on the table. Let's do it. Let's work productively and let's work proactively for the benefit of our district. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Roberts, you have 30 seconds for rebuttal.
Thank you. Well, to Senator Rankin's bill, I think that's a good idea. That bill was killed in the Senate. I currently serve in the House. I didn't have a vote on it. It's unfortunate it didn't come over to our chamber. But all I will also offer is not just saying that this is a challenge, but solutions. I've also been at the forefront of fighting for millions of dollars to come to the Just Transition Office and into our communities. The town of Hayden and the town of Craig just received significant grants to help build a new business park so they can bring new businesses in. That's the type of leadership that is required on this issue, is finding solutions and looking forward. My track record has been just that.
Thank you very much. Our third question, Candidate Solomon, you will get the first response. Many in Western Colorado feel that the agricultural industry has not been adequately supported in recent years. How could that support be improved to promote a viable, profitable, and sustainable agricultural industry?
How could it be improved? Well, the recent agriculture bill that allows the state and union reps to go onto someone's property without their permission is completely detrimental. The micromanagement of our state government onto the industry itself needs to stop. We've become a state of regulating industry, not fostering it. And we need to foster the agricultural industry just like we need to foster the energy industry, just like we need to foster small businesses throughout the district. If we can foster, get out of the way, and let them grow, they will thrive. I spent yesterday with the Cattlemen's Association in Craig. We toured a ranch that has figured out how to mix their hay fields with natural sagebrush. And it allows the sage grouse to thrive. It gives them a buffer for wildland fire protection, and it contributes positively to our environment. We also need to protect our water rights in Western Colorado, which I have a feeling we'll talk about here shortly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Roberts, would you like me to read the question, or are you prepared to answer?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay.
So agriculture, of course, is a major part of Colorado's economy, one of the most major parts, and it's a huge part of our heritage in Senate District 8. And I've been proud to serve on the Agriculture Committee during my entire time in the legislature and been a part of legislation that has helped promote and advance the agriculture industry through drought contingency programming and funding, from supporting ag producers with property tax cuts and the Ag Service Workers Program to help ag producers comply with the new law, Our farmers and ranchers face a lot of challenges right now, and the state legislature has stepped up, but needs to do a whole lot more, and I look forward to being a part of that work. We need to help them with more funding to deal with the wolf reintroduction that's going to be in our district, already is in our district, and will continue to be so. I've worked across the aisle on water issues to promote conservation, to give farmers and ranchers the tools they need to increase conservation on their property and make sure we're protecting their water rights. This is a top priority for me because it's a top priority for this district. We can work together on this issue and promote Colorado agriculture.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon, you get 30 seconds for a rebuttal.
Supporting an agriculture industry to navigate rules and regulations after those rules and regulations are passed by your majority party do not count as supporting the industry. Let's not pass those regulations. Let's not grow the government, and let's foster the industry. Drought support, water relief, fire protection, all of that is good things. That's all things that we can agree on. Where we disagree, though, is on the growth of our government and the micromanagement of the industry. The farmers and the ranchers know better than us. Thank you.
All right, our final question. Candidate Roberts, you'll be the first to respond on our final question. And it is, the urban-rural divide seems to be getting larger in a time when our state needs to come together to tackle many of the challenges we face. How would you address this divide? How would you help to unite our state if elected to office?
So this is an incredibly important question, and rightfully one asked at Club 20. And it's something we hear about a lot on the campaign trail, but also down at the Capitol. I think we need to reframe this issue. We need to look as hard as we can at promoting the Western Slope in rural Colorado, not trying to fight with our urban partners. The reality is they're always going to have more legislators than we do. And I feel probably more part of the Western Slope caucus than the Democratic caucus, and I'm sure my Republican colleagues feel the same way from out here. But we've done a good job over the past few years of banding together Republicans and Democrats to talk about how certain bills might impact our district and to bring bills that are good for our rural district. One of the best, I've talked about it several times, but working with Representative Rich on the Rural Jumpstart program and explaining to my urban colleagues why this is so important, why we should give business incentives specifically to rural businesses, why that's important to our economies out here. That's an example of partnership and collaboration. We can't just say no and fight with our urban partners. We need to work together because what's good for rural Colorado is going to be good for the whole state.
Thank you very much. Candidate Solomon?
At the Cattlemen's Association dinner last night, the Dean of Agriculture from Colorado State University, I think, summed it up best. He's teaching the students there it's not the rural-urban divide, it's the rural-urban bridge. And I am the candidate that can function as that bridge. Not just because of my public service experience and not just because of my private sector experience, but because of my experience and my ability to relate from this district to the people in the Front Range. Now, he gave 4 talking points I'd like to share with you that are the foundation, I think, to fostering business, fostering personal growth, and fostering our industries. That is, we need animal health, we need people health, we need environmental health, and we need profitability. If we can generate these 4 things, we can bridge that gap because we have a focus that we can all agree upon. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidate Roberts, your 30 seconds for rebuttal.
So I think the next senator for this district, whether it's Matt or myself, has a unique responsibility. It's going to be one of the largest geographic Senate districts in the state, and it's going to cover a lot of mountain and rural Colorado. What that district deserves, the people in that district, is somebody who is willing to put partisan ideologies aside, work together with legislators from all parts of the state to do what's best for our district. I have done that for the last 4 years. You can look at all of my bills that I've sponsored. Every single one of them, except for one, has been bipartisan, and every single one of them has come from an idea in my district in rural Colorado. That's the type of leadership we need in this new Senate district.
Thank you very much. All right, this is the portion now where we move into the cross-examination portion of our debate. Each candidate will be given 4 minutes to ask questions of their opponent on matters that are pertinent to the race for the office that they are seeking. Please be reminded that questions should be pertinent to the office that you are running for and should not include any attacking speech or profane language. I reserve the right to redirect a candidate if the remarks are not pertinent to the elected office. Candidate Roberts will begin the cross-examination. It is your time.
All right, thank you, Brad. Mr. Solomon, we actually didn't get a question about water, but I know water, of course, is a huge topic in our district, and we talked about it at our last debate. We've talked about how crucial it is for our future. What specific piece of legislation would you introduce to improve the state of our water resources in Colorado?
Thank you, Dylan. That's a really good and pertinent question to Club 20 because this Senate district, we are the backstop for water protection and water rights of the Colorado River Basin. One example of something that is already being discussed is the savings that the towns of Boulder and Denver are proposing with some of their new laws. We should work with those Front Range representatives to get that water reallocated back to the Colorado River Basin, as one short example.
Okay. Thank you. Following the passage of Colorado's background check law in 2013, your gun store that you owned at the time, Alpine Arms, was a co-signer of a lawsuit to overturn that law, and you publicly spoke out against background checks. Background checks ensure that dangerous individuals who don't have access to firearms, and it's supported by nearly 90% of Americans. Why do you oppose background checks for firearm purchases?
Well, let's be crystal clear. The opposition was not being opposed to background checks. Background checks are required by federal law, and
But
that
the
bill is
lawsuit
due.
you signed on to was to overturn the background check law in Colorado.
If you'll let me finish, sir, I was going to answer that. That bill was not only duplicitous of federal law and the background checks that all federally licensed firearm dealers have to go through before transferring a firearm to a client, but my point in that lawsuit was to represent small businesses. That bill and
Okay.
the way that it was written.
Thank you. I have a next question. Did you always perform background checks, and do you perform background checks at Alpine Arms in accordance with the state law?
I don't currently own Alpine Arms, just to
But
set
when-
that clear.
Did you perform background checks in accordance with the state
I was
law?
100% compliant with the law with every inspection I undertook with the ATF.
Okay. At our previous debate, you said that we had not yet studied the issue of climate change enough to know whether we should do anything about it. Is climate change real and caused by humans?
Climate change is real, and humans do contribute to it, yes.
So you said we don't know enough about it yet to do anything about it. What would you say to the hundreds of outdoor recreation businesses in our district, the farmers and ranchers in our district who are dealing with mega drought right now? What would you say to them about whether we need to do anything about the threats that they face?
We absolutely do need to do something about it, Dylan. What we don't need to do is skew the data to force an agenda. And by skewing the data, I'm referring to measuring the carbon emissions blown in from Idaho and Oregon and California as carbon emissions from our state. We need to address the problems with real data and come up with drought plans for agriculture, usage plans, and so forth. We also need to hold the lower basin states accountable for their overdraw from our savings account in Lake Powell.
Earlier this year, you said that the state legislature should not use federal relief dollars for affordable housing. And then at a debate a few weeks ago, you said that we haven't done enough as a state. So I'm curious, what specifically is your plan to address affordable housing in our district?
Well, in context, Dylan, the point we were having in the debate and the earlier conversation was those federal relief dollars are one-time dollars. That doesn't fix the solution.
But you said that we shouldn't use those dollars this year for housing.
No, I said it was a bad idea and it was not a long-term solution to the issue.
Okay. Is Joe Biden the freely and fairly elected president of the United States?
As far as I know, do you feel otherwise?
No, certainly I don't. You said earlier this year, though, that Colorado should consider sending alternate electors to the Electoral College. Why do you support an unconstitutional process like that?
No, what I don't support is the fact that we've done away with the Electoral College in Colorado. The national
You said
popular
that we
vote
should
minimizes
send
our
alternate
voice.
electors to the Electoral College.
Where and when
Time.
did I say that, Dylan? I'm sorry.
Thank you both very much.
Yes, sir.
Now, Candidate Solomon, you will have your 4 minutes to redirect and ask questions of Candidate Roberts.
Candidate Roberts, in 2019, you voted to reduce the penalties for fentanyl from a felony to a misdemeanor. In fact, you made it a misdemeanor for someone to possess enough fentanyl for everyone in this room 10 times over to die. Is that correct?
I voted for a bill that
Yes or no,
lowered the
please.
penalty from a felony to a misdemeanor for possession.
You did, in 2019. Then, in 2021, on the heels of that bill, you voted for the Misdemeanor Reform Act, which legalized domestic violence. It made it a misdemeanor, it decriminalized it. It dropped it from a felony offense, and it reduced the time in jail from somebody to abuse their loved one. Did you vote for the Misdemeanor Reform Act?
I voted for the Misdemeanor Reform Act, and so did every single senator in the Senate. It passed unanimously through the state Senate, and that you have your facts
Thank you
wrong.
for
It is
answering.
still a felony
Thank
to
you
commit
for
certain
answering.
types of
Thank you
domestic
for answering.
violence.
My question is, it's your responsibility as a House rep and as a deputy DA to look out for the safety of our district and of your constituents. By voting to decriminalize fentanyl, enough to kill everyone in this room, then to celebrate a makeup bill, which still leaves an amount of fentanyl that could kill thousands a misdemeanor. To decriminalize domestic violence in the way that you did in that Misdemeanor Reform Act, why is it that you put our district at risk, and why should anyone vote for you in good faith of what you say rather than what you do?
Well, what you just said was inaccurate with respect. We did not decriminalize the possession of fentanyl or any drug. It was lowered from a felony to a misdemeanor. It's still very much
I'm going to interject with the definition of decriminalization, which is the reclassification in law relating to certain acts or aspects such to the effect that they are no longer considered a crime and the removal of criminal penalties. By dropping it from a felony to a misdemeanor, you did in fact decriminalize it,
It
sir.
is still a crime to possess any type of Schedule I drug in Colorado, and it's egregious to say that we decriminalized domestic violence. As a former prosecutor, keeping my community safe was a top priority, especially domestic abusers. We did not decriminalize domestic violence. If you think we did, I would take it up with all 35 senators that voted for that bill. That bill was bipartisan, supported by all the DAs in the state except for one, and the law enforcement community and the victims' rights community. It was a rewrite of our criminal law that had been worked on for many, many years. It is still a
Dylan,
crime
thank you,
to commit
thank you for
domestic
answering. I
violence, and
appreciate it. To counter that, just to let you know, the law enforcement industry that's endorsed me does not support the language in that bill. It was not complete and it was not whole. I'd like to transition to the Colorado health option because, as you said at the last debate, you have lowered the cost of insurance for Coloradans. And the intention of that I agree with and I appreciate. However, the Colorado Hospital Association and every hospital in our district tried to work with you on this bill and tried to help make it a better bill that would actually save people money. What every one of them have said is that this is a cost-shifting maneuver. In fact, the Department of Insurance came out and said our insurance costs are going to increase by 12% next year and projected almost up to 20% after that. This bill helps 97 people out of 50,000 in Eagle County. That's 1%, less than that. How do you explain where the savings are for the remaining 99% that face an increase in their health insurance cost?
Well, I'm not sure where that statistic comes from because the Colorado option has not been yet implemented. It goes on sale this fall, so nobody has signed up yet. There will be thousands of people signing up this fall, individuals and small businesses who will finally get some relief and a new health insurance choice, particularly in western Colorado.
That came from the Department of Insurance a month after the bill passed, Dylan. And it said in the letter, I can post it.
The DOI stats showed that thousands of people were going to be eligible for this new affordable plan. Nobody's been able to sign up because it's not in effect yet. I worked very closely with the Colorado Hospital Association and the Rural Health Alliance, all of which went to a neutral position on that bill. They did not oppose the bill, and actually a lot of our rural hospitals are going to get a higher reimbursement rate under that bill.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank both of the candidates. Great job. We're going to get ready now for our closing remarks. Each candidate will now be given 2 minutes to present those closing remarks. Once again, based on the coin flip we had backstage before we began, this order was devised. So candidate Roberts, you will go first.
All right. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Matt, for this debate, and I appreciate Club 20 for giving us this forum. As I said earlier, my focus as a legislator is always to listen to the concerns of my constituents, hear their ideas, and go down to the Capitol to see if there's a way that we can help them. I got into politics a while ago as a volunteer because I saw it as a way to help people, to make people's lives better. And over the past 4 years during my time in the legislature, we've done that. We've saved Coloradans thousands of dollars on their health insurance costs, on their prescription drug costs. We're helping build new affordable housing for our workforce all across the state, which is going to help our teachers, our nurses, our police officers, our tourism workforce, and the businesses that rely on employees in our communities. We've worked together. I've worked with Republicans and Democrats, many in this room or who have been here today, to solve the issues that are facing our district. But we have a lot more challenges facing us. But I believe with these challenges comes a lot of opportunity. If we can continue that bipartisan spirit and that collaboration, we need to do more to protect our water resources. This is going to be the issue facing the legislature over the next decade. And we need serious legislators who offer specific ideas and experience in water and in water conservation and in legislating. We need to do more to reduce the cost of living living in our mountain and rural communities, which is crippling our workforce, and people are leaving because they can't afford to live here. And we need to look out for the next generation of Coloradans. We need to protect our environment for them. We need to protect our communities from wildfire. And we need to ensure that this can still be a place, Senate District 8 can still be a place where people can open a business, raise a family, and retire. This Senate district has a lot of challenges, but it has a lot of opportunity. And with the right person representing them, we can get a lot done to make people's lives better. It would be an honor to continue serving in the legislature as the next senator for Senate District 8, and I hope to earn your vote this fall. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Solomon, your 2 minutes begin now.
B-Rad, Club 20, all of you here in the audience and all of you watching at home, I really appreciate you taking time to be involved in this process. This is important. We need balance in our legislature, and we have an opportunity to balance the legislature by flipping this seat in the Senate. I am that voice that can bridge gaps, that can bridge the rural, that can lay the groundwork for a rural-urban bridge. I need to change my language to the dean from Colorado State University. I want to do that by taking the foot off the throat of small business. I want to stop with the illegal taxes. I'm sorry, fees. I made the same mistake that Dylan made at the last debate. I want to work on sustainable solutions that provide long-term benefits for both the environment and our economy. And I want to represent our district, all of it, not parts of it, not conveniently here and there, and not my party, because the people come before the party. The 25% growth in our government has taken money away from our schools, our teachers, our students. It's taken money away from CDOT, who's understaffed. We are taxing the rural environment with a gas fee that is necessary, but it's unduly applied because we have to drive everywhere. Our tractors require this fuel. CDOT needs the funding and we have more electric vehicles. So we need to look for more balanced solutions so that we can all work together. We need action and follow through, not just more committees and good titles on bills with poor execution. As I said before, we need to foster business, not regulate it. We need to foster personal growth, not pass blame. And we need to foster collaboration, not division, not bipartisan party line politics. We need to work together as Coloradans. And I look forward to be honored to be that person for you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. On behalf of myself and Club 20, it was an honor to moderate this debate. I'd like to thank both candidate Roberts, candidate Solomon for what I think was an outstanding